What the? Dude, these dolls are cheap rip-offs. After all that, shenanigans! Shenanigans! Shenanigans!
Okay. Death Stranding 2 came out recently, but I've seen a huge impact of essentially just scathing positive reviews. But that's what's confusing to me, because the positive reviews are mainly implicating the same thing, that the game hasn't really changed since its initial inception. Like, it's still the same Death Stranding, just the sequel. Probably more cinematic moments, as well as just bigger action-packed sequences here and there throughout the story, which would be expected with the sequel. I would say the same thing happened in the God of War PlayStation game, you know, the new one with the sun. The same thing happened on that, on God of War Ragnarok, that's the name of it, rather than the first game, where it was like, you know, it did its thing, and then the sequel came out and it was like, hey, more boss fights, more action, more different array of characters, more stuff going on. Yeah, but the game ultimately just kind of felt and was structured the same. It wasn't really that big of a turnout from the first one. So, you know, if people really enjoyed that, then people would really enjoy the sequel. So that's one thing. But with Death Stranding 2, Death Stranding was criticized heavily because of its weird gameplay mechanic. Well, not gameplay mechanic, but more so just the weird concept of being a package delivery walking simulator. Weird concept of a world, lack of really any type of character development and dynamic. Just the goofy shit you got in Metal Gear without actually the fun, engaging aspect of Metal Gear, along with a lot of just weirdness, just hyper uber weirdness, and just this fixation on taking different actors and actresses and just motion captioning them inside of a game in order to try and build some type of hype or weird concept. It was a weird, goofy game that had a huge array of controversy behind it, if you don't remember. Now, apparently the first Death Stranding came out like 6 years ago, but that game essentially was review bombed heavily. And then it got pointed out the fact that it had a crazy array of negative bot reviews, like on Metacritic, and some other sites here and there, but on Metacritic especially, it just had like a crazy array of different botted negative reviews. What was and then, you know, Kojima fans and people in general were like, hey, get rid of those negative reviews, get rid of negative reviews. But then it was also found out that it also had botted positive reviews, but no one did anything for those. And so it stands to where the game was at like a 70, but realistically it should have been around like 7 out of 10 or a 70 out of 10, something like that. But realistically it should have been in the range of possibly a 60, or if not just genuinely half, but I would at least swing towards 60, because it wasn't unplayable. It's just that the game itself was just kind of bleh. So here's my problem. The sequel came out, and the sequel is being praised as a game that needs to be put into the analogs of Game of the Year for this year. And I just find that completely ridiculous. I find that ridiculous because of the fact that it's a sequel to a game that was criticized on the merit of its existence as just being a whatever kind of game. So the sequel, as stated in a lot of reviews, is much of the same, just with more action sequences. Do you see how that really upsets me? Because I don't understand what the fuck happened to the bar. Like did it drop? Did your expectations drop or something? Like to not criticize or to not hold it to the same standard that you would any game, and to just have just a slew of essential excuses appear from different people. You know, I can understand from Kojima fans because they were going to buy it anyway, but the original Death Stranding was a game that was criticized to death for being the way that it is. And so now you have a sequel that's the exact same thing, just again with more action set pieces, but you're still just delivering packages, and just more weird ass confusing storyline in order to justify its weird ass confusing storyline for whatever reason. I don't know. If all of that is essentially the same, it's just the sequel. Why is it that this game is now in the realm of being like a 98 or is like a passing for like damn near perfection? It's just one of the greatest games people ever played. Hell, someone put in a review that was like, if you're expecting this game to be anything different than the first Death Stranding, you're sorely mistaken. It's the same game. But then it was like, your exact same review for the first Death Stranding was a 7 out of 10. Your review for this Death Stranding is a 9 out of 10. It's a sequel. How the fuck? You see what I'm saying? It was like, what exactly am I supposed to? What do you get from that type of coverage of a video game? Hell, then now the major type of essential rhetoric behind Death Stranding 2 is the negative implication being people talking about the weird aspect of Kojima with female characters, which is completely stupid. Just so fucking stupid. Does he have a weird thing with feet? Of course he does. So does Quentin Tarantino. Whoop-de fucking do. But that's not a big deal. The thing is that essentially, because I thought this was perfectly explained by Kyle on his channel, where you're having people essentially bring this up in order to help out Death Stranding 2 sales. And I would not hold it over a lot of different gaming media to have some of their journalists go, hey, this will be a hot take or something that get people mad and blah, blah, blah. And they'd be like, yeah, Kojima and women, ugh. And all that will do is push a bunch of people who essentially hate those reporters, or can't call gaming media people reporters, hate those reviewers, and go and support the game just simply to spite those people. That's a thing. And I can't hold it over Death Stranding for doing something like that, considering that this is a game that basically is a PlayStation baby. When the first Death Stranding came out, PlayStation did everything they possibly could to just hold it up as if it was Simba from The Lion King, as if like just the next best thing. And it wasn't. It was a whatever kind of game, you know. And it's like, if you liked it, you liked it. If you didn't, you didn't. Me personally, boring as shit. The concept of basically not even being able to die, I thought was unbelievably stupid. If you got defeated in the game, it caused a massive explosion that left a crater in the ground, and then you just get up and keep moving. How does that make sense? But it's like, well, the world got shifted. I don't give a fuck. How does there's no consequence. But again, you're just delivering packages. So that makes even less sense to even force yourself to be facilitated in that type of concept. But now if you're dealing with a sequel that's doing the same thing, how the fuck is it that this game is all of a sudden superior? How is it just that much greater if it's more of the same, that for some reason now that's a breakaway from what it used to be? No. Dumbass, like that doesn't make any sense. That's a clear violation of the governing rules of shill media and just overall stupidity. I'm just upset at the fact that that's essentially what's going on, even for it to be in like the running of like, this is going to be game of the year. I've heard no one say anything about this game. I'm someone who actively looks into gaming media shit, and I had to see people's videos talking about the response of journalists towards this game rather than actually seeing people talk about this game. You see how off-putting that is, or like how weird that concept in that setting is? And it's like, yeah, so I indulge in gamer shit. Gamers ain't talking about this, but gaming media, oh, they're all over this. So I'm to believe that this would be Game of the Year. Should be in the running of Game of the Year. Now, let's not forget that, yeah, the Video Game Awards are a piece of shit and they're a sham and whatnot, but still, I find it odd that essentially no one is kind of connecting the dots. But then again, a lot of different things when it comes to nerd culture shit, they only tend to talk about stuff that are just good for the clicks and the views and whatnot, rather than actually indulging in this content and continuously pestering people about it, because of the fact where I was like, yeah, this shit's still fucked up. But yeah, this is one of those just super retarded things that's currently going on within the gaming world. To me, I do not appreciate the fact that there's so many people who are all of a sudden giving this game a pass when nothing has changed. The world is still confusing. The characters are still weird. Hell, they barely had any, because it's all about getting as many people as they can to play it. But think of what they did during the Summer's Game Fest, and it's like they didn't even show gameplay during there. The game was going to come out in a couple of weeks when the Summer Games Fest happened. And they didn't show gameplay. They had like a 6-minute cutscene. There was just a back and forth between two characters. I don't even know if those characters were in the first game, but I don't care. But again, it was like, that's all that they showed for the game. They didn't show gameplay. They didn't show any new mechanic or any interesting concept or anything. Just a cutscene. And then I'm supposed to believe that this game just came out as a breakaway hit that everyone keeps talking about. No one's talking about this game. No one gives a fuck. No one cares. I would be far more prevalent in believing, prevalent, I don't think that's the right word. I would be better off believing that this game would possibly be an 80, 8 out of 10 or something like that on Metacritic or anything like that. Whereas it's far more polished. There's more things to do now. There's a lot more intriguing aspects about that game. That I would understand, and then it could still be an 8 out of 10. Nothing's ever gonna be below a 6 because bitches. Just everyone's a bitch. But still, for it to just be in the 90s, for it to damn near be perfect in every way, shape, or form. But it's not that different from the game that was criticized on how it's boring. It's not that much to do. It's just walking and then cutscenes and then an overly complicated story that only makes sense to Kojima and then the fans who pretend that it makes sense to them too. If it's all of that wrapped up together and just done for a second time, why is it now receiving such positivity? And again, it's like, yeah, this is all bullshit. This is all bullshit. The same thing happened to God of War Ragnarok and how it was just plastered all over the place. But with God of War Ragnarok, it was done in a strategic way to make sure that they were able to squeeze out the most that they possibly could with that game before they had their Game Awards. And let us not forget, the Game Awards are basically pushed by Sony. So that's a thing. And then even with the God of War game, when that came out, it won damn near every award except Game of the Year, because they had no choice but to go to Elden Ring, which just blew the roof off the joint. But to the point where God of War won Best Score. And it's like, I couldn't tell you how many times I've heard different music from Elden Ring just being played randomly from like internet videos and shit like that. But God of War music, I don't know any song from the God of War Ragnarok. Elden Ring was such a huge monument of a game, but the Game Awards are a fake piece of shit. A fixed piece of shit. And so I'm led to believe that essentially with Death Stranding, you're gonna get much of the same. It's gonna be the same thing. They're gonna do everything they can to try and make this game seem as if it was just this monumental smash hit, and it's not. It really isn't. It's currently being praised like crazy in like the review sites and things like that, and people talking about it. But ultimately, I know this game is gonna be just it's gonna go out like a whimper. But once the gaming awards appear, you're gonna see a lot of people try to talk about Death Stranding 2 as if it like had any type of huge impact. But right now, for any developer out there, if you have a much better game, release it. You should release it right now. And if you blow Death Stranding 2 out of the water, then yeah, then like they got nothing. They really got nothing. And essentially it will showcase exactly how terrible the gaming media has got. I mean, it's bad. It's really bad, but it's like it could always get worse. But it will show exactly how terrible shit has got. If essentially a game comes out, it's a breakaway hit, everyone loves it, everyone's talking about it. And yet when the Video Game Awards roll around, for some reason Death Stranding 2 is up in the mix. You know, remember how Blatro appeared as Game of the Year? And it was like, what the fuck is this? And it was like, well, it's an indie card game. I've never heard of it. No one's ever heard of it. Well, they paid for ads. Ah, that's why they're up there. No, people do have fun with it. Not people who play video games. This bothered me for some reason. This just really bothered me. And it's like, just all across the board, people are just praising it. And it's like, hey, these people are actually having fun with the game. Sure, fine. But also, if the game hasn't really changed since the first one, how the fuck is it worthy of such high praise? If the first game didn't even receive such high praise, what changed? What was the big inclusion in this game that just blew it out the water to make it this game? Where it's like, oh, you need to play this. This game is up for being Game of the Year. That's a big fucking deal. It's just all bullshit. It's just all bullshit. Because, I mean, next year, it doesn't matter what game comes out because it's going to lose to GTA 6. It doesn't matter what. Like, if you have a game that you're going to release next year, hold it. Wait until the year after. Do not release a game next year. just wait. But, yeah, but this right here, this one was, it rubbed me the wrong way. I just heard about what happened with Death Stranding 2, and I was like, what? I didn't even know the game came out. And I just heard about reviews from like Legacy Killer HD, and then it was like, wait, what? And then the Game Ranks did it before you buy for it. And I was like, when did this come out? What the fuck? I haven't seen promotion for this. I heard about what they did during the Summer Games Fest, and I was like, more of the same Kojima bullshit. And I was like, yeah, Kojima got his fanboys, but I don't care. But it's like, it's a walking simulator. And it's like, in the majority, then doesn't the game also have parts where it allows you to skip the combat or like certain like walking features or whatnot, so you can just see the cinematics? Like, oh my god, how was that a positive thing? Oh no, but let's all talk about the fact that people are criticizing the woman thing. That's called pettifogging, you dumbass. They're distracting you from the bullshit. The bullshit is that this is a bullshit game that Kojima made because he don't give a fuck. And he just really wants one of his convoluted stories to get turned into a movie script, which will never fucking happen because they're stupid. That's it. I got personal at the end there. That's just, oh man, that's just, whatever.
That does it. Shenanigans. Shenanigans.
What are you doing?
I'm declaring shenanigans on you. This game is rigged.
Shenanigans?